While I drive up there, I can talk about this. So there is the device from the tractor guy, and he was supposed to be here and seed the Sunham and friends. Angel has been asking him to please finish the job for, it's now the third week, and last Saturday, which is yesterday, he wanted to come but then excused himself and explained that he will do this now during the week. And over there you can see the place that is baking in the sun, and the Sunham and friends are not placed there. So we have the bags in the shed, they are waiting, and that is the thing that I'm always complaining about, or telling you guys. If you don't have the equipment and rely on someone, it always is a challenge. It becomes difficult. So here, I don't know how people make a living. I would assume they mostly run around, scramble, and figure things out on the fly and do whatever is possible. In that very same moment, there isn't really any foresight. And it drives me nuts, because that is not the culture that I am from. And I like to make plans and then adapt then, of course, because no plan will ever survive reality. That's totally normal. But you cannot really plan for something several steps in a row if everything depends on the availability of people ad hoc. This does not work. So imagine a farmer in the US has to rely on unreliable people to plant his crop and harvest it. They would incur huge losses. But then, of course, if you are a row crop farmer, you have all the equipment, and that is your main job, and therefore you have it. But in our case, we are not a row crop farmer, and therefore we do not have that equipment yet. That will change now that we don't have any animals, and instead of building infrastructure for animals, we will step by step get the necessary equipment to do other things. So the BCS tractor is just one step, and there will likely be a regular tractor, and with that we can then do things that require to work on larger surfaces. Then we can manage with the BCS. The BCS is still valid for certain things, but I fully anticipate that at some point in the near future we will have a tractor just to become independent and do not rely on other people's promises. So, but let's stop complaining. So here is where the horses have been. Yeah, this is now left alone for the summer. So the plan, the Bermuda grass, that certainly is in there, can now grow with the moisture that is still there, and everything else is being left standing. The horses, unlike cows, will not eat this bare. So a lot of things are still there, and they provide shade and some ground cover. So horses are better suited for that situation, I would think. And if I had a wish, then I would have a lot more horses and would manage them in a similar way like we did with the cows before. So, but let's not talk so much about future plans, because we will never know how things are actually turning out. I'm going to stop this and drive, and then I show you the sensor and whether it works up there or not. So here is the installation. I can't show you its function because there is no cell phone signal that's good enough here at this location. I have to go to a different place. So that is the radio transmitter of the sensor, and below here this thing uses a magnet to figure out if the gate is closed or open. So if I open it and this moves away, now the sensor records that the gate has been opened. And if you close it, like so, then it is recorded closed. Of course, the handle here can still stay open and it is still closed. But yeah, that's a minor detail. But at least it is closed. And an animal that comes here and sees it closed, think about the horses, might not be willing to push. Most people do that, and then it should be okay. It is better than nothing. And why am I doing this? So this here is the easement, and that means we have to provide free passage to anyone, and that means we can have a gate, but it cannot be locked. So I need to do something to control the movement of animals in and out without blocking humans from passing. And having a gate that is not locked does the trick, but I cannot go any further. So that is why I have to do this. And of course I want to know if that gate is open or not. And if it's reported open, then of course we go there and close it, just in case that someone forgets. The rule is you leave a gate when you pass through an easement as you find it. So if it's closed, you close it again. And if it's open, you leave it open. You do not close it in that case. Most people know this, and the only people who have been passing through here were some inspectors for a gas line. And of course they do know about that. But I have to say that the very same people who are supposed to know it did not understand that you do not go into an area where there are dogs, and they did. Of course it created a little bit of an issue. Not going into details here, because nothing bad happened, so there's nothing to report. But the fact that they did something utterly stupid. But okay, nobody was harmed. And I have a surveillance camera footage for that, but I'm not going to show this, because you should not. So that is now my installation, and I can give it a try just to see. Oh, I actually have some signal here, but let me show you the signal I have. So if I turn my phone on, and maybe you can see it, it will probably not catch it. So I have, at least I have LTE, so I have at least one bar. So let me give this a try, and if it works I can show you, and if not. So I managed to have a good enough signal here, but it's a bummer. So you might see there, last activity 42 minutes ago. It's still called Main Gate Arroyo, which it isn't now. But since 42 minutes there is no activity, and that means the signal from this sensor does not reach the LoRa gateway, which is a bit weird, because supposedly this works over 10 kilometers. And we definitely now should have line of sight, unless there is something blocking that line of sight, but I don't think it is. So that's a bit weird. So right now I'm disappointed from LoRa. I expected this to work all over the farm, and this is not so far away in comparison to the Miyawaki forest from the place where the gateway is. I have seen someone else place a gateway right next to the field, and that gateway, and actually the same device that I have can do this, uses then a cell phone SIM card to connect to the internet that way. So it only needs power and then connect between the different networks. But that's actually not as I expected LoRa to work. So I have to do some research about that, and maybe some of you guys who is also into the very same topic can point me to something. But I would think that the distance that we have right now is maybe 600 meters or 700, so that should definitely not be an issue. And of course I can use Wi-Fi and all that, but then Wi-Fi devices are different and they require more power. But if I have to deploy multiple gateways, okay, then so be it. But I'm wondering, so right now I'm a bit puzzled. We will see. So I just noticed something, and if I zoom in, maybe I can show you that. So there you see the chimney from the cortijo, and to the left where the old solar panel sits, there is the antenna with the LoRa gateway. And it might be that the chimney blocks the line of sight, and the place where this gate sensor is now is just in that radio shadow created by the chimney. That's a possibility. So this definitely is a bit weird that the signal does not reach. LoRa is supposed to be used within cities, and there are a lot of concrete walls that are still reinforced. So it's a bit strange that it does not work like I'm expecting it to do. Okay, so I can show you also something else before I wrap this up. So you see that here the irrigation is working, and the Paulovnia trees that suffered from the early frost in early May, they are now growing, and they're growing very well. The soil moisture here is some 23%, so it's not like you would expect for a commercial plantation or something like that, for crops and all this. Supposedly they are a lot higher. The planting box over there has 36%, so a lot higher. But you can see how well they are developing. So this one is a real beauty here. So that one is growing very, very well. And you see where the water drops fall. So this is all covered. And you can also see that the ground is greening up. And I see a little bit of clover and other things coming up there, which is also nice. You might not be able to spot it because it's too small. There is Bermuda grass in there. It germinates at 18 centigrade. So that is the temperature that we now have at the surface. And I want this definitely to grow, therefore I'm irrigating. The trees were not really needed because they are now older and they have made their roots. And after all, over there is the body of water that's still full. So let's go there without getting too wet. So quick pass through here in the center. So there you see this whole pond is completely full. The Paulovnia tree over there is not being watered. So this is supposed to take advantage of the water in the pond. The yacht is now gone. That was a frog that jumped into the water. And we only have the platform left. Tomorrow is Monday and Angel will take care of that. And then we want to plant Bermuda grass there as well and put another wobbler in that place. And you will certainly understand the need to work more on infrastructure, because that cable there is a power cable. That is right now the main source of power. It runs 240 volts and can carry up to 6000 watt, which is the maximum output of the solar extension that we have. And obviously that cable is pretty important. So this cable cannot stay there for very, very long because it becomes a hazard. And the plan is now that we have to do a few things ahead of time. Instead of digging trenches and doing this very properly, we are just going to put it up on fences or fence posts that we can then easily remove once we get around to dig the actual trenches. So this is outdoor cable. It is meant to be buried, but it is not to be here in this way, because something might happen and then it's pretty bad. These trees over here at the edge, they are not getting watered, because that guy draws its circle all the way to there where it's green, and then this is not being watered. But the moment this platform has been removed and here is another warbler, then definitely this will also get watered. But still they are making leaves, you can see that. So right here, those are the leaves that dried out from the frost, but you can see here, for example, there is one that is green, and it might actually, like the other ones, also start below. This one isn't, but I can see in all places of this tree. Hard for you to see here against the light and all that, but it is not that. It is definitely making new leaves. But water would be great, so soon it will get this water. Just a question of removing all this stuff here and putting another wobbler in its place. And the other thing that I can show you, and that's kind of the future. So here I cut this with our weed whacker, the electric one that I like so much, and I basically played grazing animal, and we now have a carpet of Bermuda grass. There might be some other species in there certainly are, and the idea is that the Bermuda grass fully covers the ground like it were a lawn, and then we have in between the Paulovnia trees and maybe some other plants that we can add. But eventually this is the dog enclosure, their playground, whenever we need to keep them away from whatever else is happening, which is why it is so big also. We even have a little bit of runoff that goes into the pond. That pond needs vetiver, so that it becomes cleaner. And that vetiver should then also help to break up the walls here, so that other roots can also get to the water. But now that we have our nursery over there, that is then a possibility. But of course that's next year, because first the vetiver has to grow itself and then it becomes usable. So now I'm wondering why that one is here. Nobody had put it here, and I very much doubt. Oh, see, there is more of that. So over there is another one that is sitting there, and I wonder how that came to be. Can a dog drag it here? It doesn't really look like it had been dragged to this place here. I have no idea why this tray ended up that far away from all the others. Okay, so now they are complete. Do I see anything else there? I could suspect Angel to place it there for test, but I don't know. Okay, you might notice something else. You see some dog poop there, and eventually this will be fenced Right now we just accept that, and the fence is going to be all around and made in such a way that we can have a shade close on top of it, so that the whole area can be shaded if plants require that. At the moment, I don't think that this requires the shade, because after all, those are all plants for this climate here. And as long as they are being kept alive with a little bit of water, it gets watered daily for a while, they should be fine, the root trainers. And I would think that this is exactly how every nursery, I did some research by looking at their websites, here in Spain also keeps their plants, so they're not under a shade close in any place that I have seen so far. And they would show that if they would do it. And there are no pictures of that. There are plenty of pictures, but none shows shade close.